Welcome back. So this is the very final question of the Level 3 Probability Practice Exam for Lincoln High School 2015. So question 3D. Further analysis of the study on occupational hand dermatitis. The hairdresser's gender was recorded. Sentence doesn't really make sense, does it? Anyway, and we're given a bunch of information, and then we're asked, the hairdresser is randomly selected from the study and calculate the probability that they are a female who has been working less than 5 years and owns their own salon. So a female, less than 5 years and owns salon. So probability female and less than 5 years and salon. Okay, so the information we're given is 252 of the hairdressers were male. 115 of the males own their own salon. 152 of the males had been working at least 5 years. 100 of the males owned their own salon and had been working at least 5 years. Okay, so at this point here, it seems like a lot of information, and it can feel a wee bit overwhelming. The important thing is just to take our time and realise that there'll be a way of breaking this down. So the first question we should always ask in a probability problem is, how can we represent this visually? The first port of call should be a two-way table, because that's the easiest. So let's see if we can use a two-way table here. Well, how many variables are there? How many categorical variables? Well, we've got whether they're male or not, so gender. What else have we got? Well, we've also got whether they own their own salon or not. So that's a second variable. And finally, we've got whether they have been working at least 5 years or not. So that's a third variable, isn't it? So because we've got three category variables, that's kind of three questions being asked about these hairdressers, we can't do a two-way table. The two-way table is where you've got something like, male, female, and, for example, whether you take English or not. But here we've got three. So if we were going to do it this way, we'd need a three-dimensional table. Good luck with that one. So that's out of the picture. So what we need to consider now is a three-way Venn diagram because of the fact that there's three category variables. So we need a three-way Venn diagram to represent all of those at once. There are other ways of solving this problem, but that allows us to actually visualize it. So when we're drawing a Venn diagram, the first thing we should draw is what's called the sample space. And the sample space is the set of all possible outcomes when we select one of these hairdressers from this group. So you can kind of think of the sample space as just like being all of these hairdressers. And so how many hairdressers are there in total? Well, earlier in question 3, we were given some more information that's necessary to use here. And part of that was that there's 1,500 hairdressers. So our sample space is all of those 1,500 hairdressers. Okay. So now what we're going to do is inside that we're going to draw three circles, one for each of the three category variables. So starting with gender, whether they're male or not, and we're told there's 252. So we're going to write that, 252. Okay, the next one is whether or not they own their own salon. And finally, whether they've been working for at least 5 years or not. We'll call that 5+ years. Okay, cool. So that's our three category variables. Now what we do is we just go through those bullet points like a checklist and just enter what we're told. So the first thing is that 252 of the hairdressers were male. So we've already got that, so I can tick that one off. The next thing we're told is that 115 of the males owned their own salon. So that's anything in this zone here. That's the part I've highlighted blue. Now, we don't know which part is in the green circle and which part's in the blue circle, so I'm just going to put 115 here and just going to pencil it in, and I'll split it up later. Okay, next. So I can tick that one down. So I'm up to the third bullet point. So 152 of the males had been working at least 5 years. So that's the whole bit I've highlighted green. Because anything that's in the male circle and the 5+ years circle is included. So 152, I'm just going to put on the border there and sort of pencil it in, and we'll work out how it's split up later. Okay, so that's done. Now the final bullet point says 100 of the males owned their own salon and had been working at least 5 years. So which part's that? Well, that's the zone that includes all 3 circles, isn't it? So the very middle part. So this part I've highlighted yellow. So we now know there's 100 in there. So now that we know there's 100 in there, we can actually work out the other 2 overlap parts too, can't we? So why don't you pause the video now, please, and I want you to have a go at filling in the rest of these circles. You might want to look at some of the information earlier in the question too, see if that helps. Hit play once you've done that, just to see how it's marked and so on. Check you've got it right. Okay, so pausing it now. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go, and you might want to fast forward some of this. I'm just going to go through it in case you got stuck. So that middle bit's 100. So I know that 115 are in the red and blue circle, so the male and salon circle. So that's 100 of those are used up in the yellow bit. So that means there's 15 left in here. So now cross that out. Down here, the bit where the red and the green circle overlap, male and 5+ years, I know there's 152, but 100 of those are used up in the yellow bit. So that means there's 52 left in here. What next? This is like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? I know there's 252 males, so I can now work out the number of hairdressers that are males who don't own their own salon and who've not been working 5+ years. So that's this bit in here. Because I can go 252 minus 15 minus 100 minus 52. And that leaves me with 85. Cool. Right, what next? Well, taking a step back, do we know anything else? Well, let's go back and have a look at the information earlier in the question. I know that's necessary because I've now ticked off all 4 of those bullet points, meaning I've used all of the information in part D. So always tick them off as you go, in case you've missed something. So if we go back to the earlier part of the question, what else are we told? Well, we're told 660 had been working at least 5 years, so let's write that down. So 660, so that means this green circle, the whole green circle has 660 in it. I'm just going to put that down here. And what else? So we'll take that off. 296 own their own salon. So that's going to go here, 296. Okay, and anything else? Let's go back again. 30 owned their own salon and had been working less than 5 years. So owned salon in less than 5 years. So that's going to mean they're in which part? So they're in the blue circle but not in the green circle. So that would be this whole region here. So if there's 30 in the blue region, you know there's 15 in this little region I'm just pointing the arrow to. So there must be another 15 over here. 15 and 15 make 30. The goal was to find the probability that if we pick someone at random, they're female, so not in the male circle, and been working less than 5 years, so not in the green circle, and owns their own salon, so they are in the blue circle. So where's that? Well, that's this yellow zone, isn't it? So there's 15 of them, so 15 out of 1500. So the answer to the question is the probability that they are a female who has been working less than 5 years and who owns their own salon is 15 out of, it's out of all of them, so out of 1500, or 0.01, 1%. So that's the answer. And the thing to check at the end with one of these sort of questions is always just check that it's not a sneaky conditional probability question. Check that it is actually meant to be out of all 1500 hairdressers. And the way to double check that is when you look at that final instruction, the goal, check that it's not out of a subgroup. So it says calculate, well, it says a hairdresser is randomly selected from the study. So that's talking about all of the 1,500 hairdressers. And then it says calculate the probability that they are a female working less than 5 years who owns their own salon. So that means it's out of all of them, doesn't it? So this must be the answer. And you could have actually got there without filling in some of the other parts as well, if you were pushed for time. But there it is. So the marking schedule here, it's actually up to excellence. It's actually a really easy excellence question once you practice a few of these. It's just a matter of being patient and thinking, realizing that a three-way Venn diagram is the way to go. And it just says here for excellence, getting the correct answer. Merit, if you didn't quite nail it or you ran out of time, a Venn diagram or similar was completed, so some sort of, this counts as working. And you could do it, some people did it just using equations as well. It was also possible if you did two-way tables, but I think a three-way Venn diagram is the way to go here because it conveys all of the information. So we can see it all in one go. To practice more of these, if we look on the map, the content map, and we go down to three-way Venn diagrams, so you see it says New Lake, pages 40 to 42, and it's worth doing those, especially the ones towards the end of that exercise. All the best.